going to be a little casual, and you'll kind of see me, you kind of won't. Hi. Um, so it's been a while since I made a video, and um, this one's going to be kind of a rambly one, but I also thought it'd be really fun to do a ramble, a night owl ramble, while I work on redecorating my altar for the upcoming autumn equinox. So I figured let's just kill two birds with one stone. Honestly, I really hate that phrase. Let's just be efficient and productive. There we go. So, I'm gonna remove my watch because quite frankly, it's actually bothering me right now. No, no, it's gonna fall. No. Okay. And I have a cat fur in my nose. Um, so I wanted to first kind of chat with you guys a little bit about my uh month of August, and I had made a post on Instagram and on the community tab on my channel here about how my last month was really busy, the month of August. I had a few trips that I had taken, and one of them was just me going back to Washington to see my family after 3 years. And it really bothers me that that much time goes by. It really does. But yeah, I figured I would talk to you guys a little bit about my trip as I decorated my altar. I might kind of bounce back and forth talking about what I'm doing and then talking about my trip to Washington. There was a lot of spiritual things that happened in Washington that I really wanted to talk about. And I'm going to kind of dress down my altar while I work on that, or while I discuss that. Hopefully, I don't break things. We'll see. So, as you guys know, I'm born and raised Washington State native. I have been in Minnesota since 2007 or 2008. At this point, I don't quite honestly know. I moved when I met my husband on World of Warcraft. Yes, World of Warcraft. We, this fall, will be celebrating 15 years together and 10 married. We have two beautiful children, two boys, and yeah, that's been my life for the last decade or so here, really. And I I'm happy for what I have, but I miss Washington, and it's always kind of where my heart's been. I honestly do think that Washington is a growing up in Washington, camping all over between the North Cascades to the San Juan Islands to the Olympic National Forest, Mount Rainier to the coast, everything. It's just there's something about the land there that is incredibly spiritual, and I really think that it had a large, large hand in my becoming pagan. So, whenever I go home, there's a profound sense of reawakening of spiritual energy that I tend to tap into that I really think has a lot to do with the land there. And it's almost like a coming alive moment. It's a little hard to explain. Um, so when my mother passed away in March of 2018, I went home to see her, and it was one of the hardest and very odd moments of my life. Mostly I say odd because of the things that occurred around her death. And I know I think I've done videos on this before, but I have not been back since she passed away. And it's honestly, I was really nervous about that. And I was coming home for both a happy occasion and also a painful occasion. My cousin on my father's side was getting married, my youngest cousin, so I really wanted to be there and support her. And then also, unfortunately, my mother's brother, my uncle, passed away as well. So now it really is only my cousins, my siblings, and myself in my mother's side of the family. Um, my grandfather's gone. My mother and her two brothers are gone, and my grandmother is still with us, but she has severe dementia to the point where she didn't even recognize me when I came to visit. So it was kind of a painful trip, really. And I loved my uncle very dearly. So Yeah, there was a lot of happiness for my cousin on my father's side getting married and being able to be there for her. And then literally the next day, I had to go over across the mountains uh, and be with my mom's side of the family as we mourned my uncle. But before I made my journey over to the other side of the mountains for my uncle's service, I spent the first few days over on the Olympic Peninsula where my oldest brother lives. And there there's something very spiritual about that area. It's very prevalent with the Native American tribes. And growing up in Washington state, the Native American tribes are you that's part of your curriculum when you are in school. You take Washington state history, you learn about the Native American tribes. You're even brought to a museum to learn about their tools and their clothing and everything that they used and still use to this day. And there's just been something that's always been kind of captivating to me with the Native American tribes in Washington state. And I believe truthfully that over on the Olympic Peninsula, the energy of the land is something that they tap into as well in their culture. Um, and, I, not being of Native American descent, can only speak so much, of course. This is merely just a admiration and appreciation of the culture that I have been rather exposed to growing up in Washington state and understanding that there is a likeness of the connection that they have to the land as well as the connection that I have to that very land being a pagan. That's really kind of all I'm saying. I just wanted to make it clear. But anywho, so I definitely felt a lot of land spirits while I was over on the Olympic Peninsula, but I also felt a lot of ancestral spirits. And it was very interesting because during this trip, I also managed to get some inherited items from my father's side of the family for the most part. Sorry, my lips are hurting. um, and while I was doing that, I had discovered that my most of my father's side of the family is artists. And that actually was very validating for me, being an artist myself. Um, so I inherited a couple of, or a painting from my great uncle and a few other things. And so there was just a heavy presence of ancestral energy that had occurred as I was in Washington visiting. I kind of expected that, but it was also very difficult to be back in the place that my mother had passed away. And I could feel her energy a little bit more as well. But as well as my grandfather's, but my grandfather's energy is very prevalent and strong and always has been, even more so than my mother's. Well, um, so I met with my grandmother on my father's side for lunch once I got back over to the Seattle area where she lives. And thankfully, much to my utter delight, which I was already aware of this because I do speak to her on the phone regularly, my grandmother is just as sharp as she ever was. Unlike my mother's mother, who has pretty severe dementia, which is again quite heartbreaking, and it was a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. Um, so my while speaking with my grandmother on my father's side, I she asked about the tarot card tattoo on my arm, which might be a tad difficult to show you guys, but this is it. Um, I have. Oh, that is really difficult to show you. That is the Star in Death. It's one of my newest tattoos. I got it earlier this year when I had the financial ability to do so. um, yeah. So she was asking me about my tarot card tattoo, and I basically just said, well, they're tarot cards, and I'm fascinated by them, and you know, um, I kind of went into explain how it's to me tarot readings are always like sitting down and talking to a therapist, and it's been rather sorry, I'm trying to figure out what cloth I want to use. Rather profound, and it did a huge impact on my life. And my grandmother says, "Oh, that's so wonderful, dear. I read them too," which I was blown away by. I thought, what? My grandmother reads tarot, and I have never known. My grandmother's also an artist, and I have a very deep connection to her because of the people in my family. I've always felt I was the most like her, through personality and similar interests, as well as even appearance. And um, my grandmother then goes on to tell me that there is a local shop near her house that she's been to that I would quote unquote absolutely adore, called Stargazers. Me being, little Miss Cosmic Witch over here, little Miss Aquarius, I'm thinking, yes, please, let's go find this out. What is this? I'm curious. I go there and it's a full on witchy shop. My grandmother, my 90-year-old grandmother, sent me to a full on witchy shop, which I was like, oh my god, or gods rather, this is amazing. So, for quite some time now, I've actually been looking for a necklace with a pentacle and a raven. I've become increasingly more drawn to the raven and its energies, and it's kind of coinciding with another animal energy that I've always been attached to since I was a child, which is the orca. And I happened to find a necklace there that spoke to me, and I was like, this is completely fortuitous. This is absolutely like, I have to purchase this here from this place in this time because then it will connect me to her as well. And the fact that she sent me here, it just was so strangely fortuitous. So I ended up finding this beauty, which, let's see if my camera will focus for you. Hello, pretty baby. Come on, show. There we go. Oh. Yes, I love him. He's beautiful. And it's because of my grandmother that I have this. So that is one of my new necklaces. The other one ties into the Native American legend of the raven bringing the sun, stealing the sun from the house of the sky chief and bringing it back to the light back to the people. It was one of my favorite stories. And, I'm very drawn to the Pacific Northwest Native American artwork as well. I just think it's beautiful. And it really reminds me of home. Because honestly, in Washington State, it's everywhere. I mean, it's on the ferries. There's framed artwork all over. There's totem poles everywhere in various cities, all over in downtown Seattle. I grew up around it. So I ended up stepping into a Native American art gallery in the city that my brother lives in over on the Olympic Peninsula, and I happened to find this necklace. Let's see if we can. There he is. So that is the raven with the sun in his mouth. And I just thought it was really, really cool. Um, Plus, the money that I spent at that gallery did go to the tribes. So that was also very exciting to know. Um, and so those are the two things that I had picked up that I really wanted to share with you guys, aside from some family heirlooms and a few other things, a couple of books and some fun stuff as well. I'm pretty sure I misplaced the other awful clock that I was looking for. Well, that's all right. Anyway, let's see here. I actually think I'm feeling these. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have switched up my altar a bit because for the last few months, I cannot seem to sit still with my altar. I have just been trying to perfect, I have this need for trying to figure out how to make it the way that I need it, but I don't even really know how I need it. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that is pretty much what's happening to me right now. And so I've been trying to make use of the space that I have because my husband started a fantastic project for me last winter where we started to build me a art studio and a witchy room downstairs. Unfortunately, we only got so far before my husband uh essentially lost his job in April and has been out of work since. The only reason I was able to go to Washington was by the grace of my family. So um, it's been a challenge to say the least. But so that project has been on hold, and I've been doing my best to just try and manage my altar space to make it as functional as I would prefer. I did have a coffee table that I was using for a little bit here, but I didn't like the fact that it was round. I really would like something square to fit in this space and to have drawers underneath for storage because I used to keep most of my witchy things in this big blue toy chest. Um, but I wanted to give that to my son for his toys, and it just was taking up a lot of space in my room here. So I decided to consolidate a lot of my things and sort of try and rearrange as best as I can. I'm actually quite meticulous about most of my things. I like everything to be in a specific place. I will say though that I'm not the best at dusting, so there's that. But my one of my other big things with my altar, aside from storage, is down below that's easily accessible. Is that I used to have my altar for the dead up on a bookshelf that is that that away. It's really hard. The camera's at an angle. I'm trying to figure out how to. Yeah. So I used to have that up there, and my issue is that when I have an altar space that is too high up, I don't use it. It just sits, it just collects dust. I like to be able to sit in front of my altar spaces and actually work with them if they are a working altar. And so I decided to take my old altar table here that I had discontinued because it was just a bit too small and use it for my altar for the dead. So that is now sitting here, right next to this one. And I was able to kind of reconfigure at least the best that I could. And this is just one of those like cube storage units, which honestly, if it was my preference, I would love to find a small square coffee table that's about, this high off the ground and has drawers and doesn't come too far out into the room. I'm really particular and I will find it. But for the time being, I have this, and it kind of sucks because it really only gives me this much space to work with, and I cannot stand it. Um, but I'm doing my best. So that's my other little ramble is the fact that I can't, like, I haven't been able to sit still with my altar lately. I keep tinkering and trying to figure out how I want to make it work and, what I can do to maximize my usage and my comfortability. I really did like that coffee table just because it had more space so I could lay out cards and stuff. And I don't have that with this. So I'm probably going to tinker more just because again, I can be a little meticulous and I just want things a certain way, especially for the functionality and what's going to make things the most comfortable for me. Um, I need to be able to sit in front of my altar and do what I need to do. So, yeah, it's been kind of a crazy month with going back home to Washington, and I have felt so disconnected from my my craft and I've just been trying to manage all the stress of my husband still not working and going home for these two events. My uncle's funeral was sudden. It was a little unexpected. So I had already planned on coming home to be there for my cousin as she was getting married, but then my uncle on my mother's side, the other side of the family, suddenly passed away. So, I had to reconfigure my trip for all of that, and I'm grateful I did. But I'm still kind of processing my grief and understanding that, now that he's gone, it's just my mom and her siblings are all gone. And that's still really, really hard for me to process. It's kind of crazy. And yeah. So I apologize for the lack of content, guys. And I thought it would be really fun to just sit here and ramble as I'm trying to set up my altar in my sweatpants and share with you guys maybe a few other things a little fun show and tell. So I would absolutely love to be able to keep my, oops, um, I have a couple of rabbit furs. Don't worry, they were ethically obtained. This one is absolutely gorgeous. It has Yggdrasil and the runes on it. And then the other one is essentially the same thing, but it's blank. And I would love to keep these on my altar, but my cat, my now 1-year-old kitten, loves to steal them. So yeah, she's a little butt. Um, and it's really, really frustrating. So it's like, I would really like to keep that on my altar. Would be great. And then this is where I keep my runes. I'm actually going to start doing a rune study and work with each rune for a week. These are so pretty. I don't know how well my camera's going to pick them up. But one of my plans is I actually ended up getting the Cosmic Whisper rune deck through a trade. And I thought it would be really awesome to lay one of these because they're thick. These cards are they're like tile. As you can see, the width of, I don't know how well you can see that, but that's the width of my finger width. But they are very beautiful cards. There we go. And I thought about laying one of these out each week on my altar and working with that rune and journaling about it and kind of getting myself more acquainted with the runes as I dive deeper into the Norse path. And I feel like every time I work with the runes, my connection to Odin gets a little stronger too, as well as my connection to Freya. But my connection to whoa, can't talk. My connection to Freya is pretty strong considering she is my matron. And the only deity I have ever dedicated myself to. Whoops. Let's not break stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would like to add to my altar this evening. And it's so funny because I don't know if you guys do this, but very often I will go through, I'll set up my altar and then something just won't feel right. And then it'll take me a little while and then suddenly it will dawn on me and I'll be like, oh, that's what it is. So yeah, to figure out what exactly that is. Also, I'm trying to figure out how I want my little hell statue to be too. I just don't know if I want it right there and you guys know how it is. And I know that you guys possibly remember those altar videos I did where they were time-lapsed. I'd love to start doing those again, but the reason why I haven't is because the last one that I did, my cat Luna was in it, and it was not long after that she passed away, and I couldn't have the heart to make another one. I know that might sound silly, but that's really kind of what has been stopping me. It's just been that I miss her so terribly, and I'm grateful for these new little ones that we have, but it's not a replacement. It's just, I couldn't stop crying. And my husband and I wanted to do something good with our pain, so we chose to adopt, and I don't regret my decision. I'm very grateful for our two little ones that we have now, but yeah, I essentially have not been able to bring myself to do another altar um, time-lapse video just because, yeah, Luna, just miss her. And I'm coming up on a year next month for her, and my other cat Prue has only been gone since May, so I'm trying to. It's just so funny. I start talking about my cats as I'm putting Freya's stuff together here. And then I've already put Frigg up there, but she still needs her things. I always like to keep certain things with my deities. There are certain stones and altar or offering dishes and things like that that are theirs. And they just go with them, and that's how it is. At least that's how they tell me it is. At least that's how I feel. And let's see, I think Odin should be a little closer to Frigg. Perhaps. And then trying to figure out his little pieces here. I don't know. See, it's. I think maybe we can put Odin there. This beautiful offering dish there. Please tell me you guys are particular about your altars too. And I know this video is super, super rambly, but it's been a while and I just want to continue to talk to you while I finish setting this up. So I'm kind of prolonging things a little bit. I apologize. You can click off if you're bored, but this is what I'm doing. And I don't know, something still feels weird. I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out though. And then I want a space for my incense, which I always burn in a cauldron on a fireproof dish because fire safety. I think I'm going to pull this a little forward and then let's not break things, please. There we go. She's perfect right there. One of my main altering or offerings I use for my deities is incense, especially because if I'm trying to keep myself engaged, it's just a quick thing that I can do for them that I quite enjoy. This is a spell. Well, not it's a bottle I made for Odin that has just tons of stuff that makes me think of him. So I usually like to keep it with his things, but it's a little tight over here. See, this is why I don't know if this space is going to work out for me. I might have to figure something else out. But lastly, the other thing that I was going to show you guys before I finish up here is one of my favorite people went to Colorado for a girls' weekend, and she brought me back. She went to a crystal shop, and she brought me back a new pendulum, which I adore. It is very, very cute. So I just wanted to share that really quick too. But I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. I really want to do an update on my bullet journal. I had actually filmed one last month, and then something went wrong with the camera, and I just didn't get a chance to film it again. So I will do a full update on my bullet journal as of the last few months, coming up pretty soon here, and then I'm hoping to have a few other videos out. I'm hoping to be more active this month, but I really hope you kind of enjoyed this little ramble as I talked about my trip to Washington and some of the experiences I had and got decorated for the autumn equinox. So, as always, guys, thank you for watching. I know this was a long one. You guys are wonderful. I appreciate you. And as always, blessed be.